Hi, friends. Welcome back to Dysfunction Exposed. This is season 5, episode 2, and I'm gonna jump right in on the nitty gritty because in the space between filming the first episode for this season and now, I've been thinking a little bit, and the memories I've got from these particular time frames are so much more vivid than the ones in my younger years. So it may seem that I'm going into more detail. It's because I just remember more. That's the basis of it. And then it got me thinking, why don't I remember as much from my childhood? Naturally, we lose a bit of that. Memory declines as we get older. We know that. But I'm like, is that a trauma thing? I think it might be a trauma thing. But then really I should have no memory of my life whatsoever because it's all pretty fucked. That being said, excuse me, that being said, let's crack on with it because in the first episode, there was a lot to uncover. And we know now I've got online presence as such. And Twitter was a bit of a breeding ground for a lot of my mistakes, should I call them. They weren't mistakes, they were learning experiences. That's how I'll reframe that. But it was the boiling pot. It was where a lot of the bad decisions and the influence and everything that came with it started from. It was completely the catalyst for some of the downfall. And that isn't the platform's problem. That was me being an 18, 19-year-old, not knowing what the fuck she was doing problem. So let's debunk it. My mum's back home at this point. And when I first got into that wish list scenario and I started to get a bit of traction online, it was very quick. The succession between it just being a wish list and then it moving into being paid sex work. And while I was floating around, obviously, tags for bigger women include BBW. That's the name for them. That's the name for a fat woman who is sexual and open about it. That's the best way to describe it. So that was my tag. That was the category and the box that I fit into. And I was aware of it. I didn't fit into other boxes, but this one was quite comfortable. And I allowed it to become a massive part of my identity, to be honest. And that follows in later years. But while I was coming across these hashtags and starting to get a broader understanding of what this was and what this means and what is available to me, BBW events came into the fold. Now, I wasn't one to shy away from a normal night out in the first place. Being bigger did not stop me from going out. I will say that. But I appreciate and understand that there are a lot of bigger women who struggle with that social anxiety. Because you don't know what the evening's going to bring. You don't know if that one knobhead's going to make a comment and it's going to trigger you and you're going to spiral and that's it, it's going to be ruined. Because that happened. And when I clocked the fact that there were specific nights out just for fat women and people who like fat women, we'll loop back round to that in a minute. But fat women, yay for fat women. Okay, give them a space. I'm invested. And I wanted to go and check it out. I didn't want to go on my own. And because Mummy Dear was back in the picture, I'd said to her, look, we've never been on a night out together. Do you want to come to this thing with me? So I explained what it was, and my mum's open-minded, to say the least. So she was like, yeah, of course I'll come with you. Like, I'll support you in it. No worries. So we end up getting ready. And it was local in Manchester. So we got there. And it was in a wine cellar that had been converted into a bar. But I didn't really think about the fact, why did they put us in a cellar? That strikes me as a bit odd now. Like, keep the fat people hidden. Put them downstairs. That's a bit of a weird one to me, and that is a thought that has literally just flown through my brain as I'm talking, so you're welcome. What the fuck? Why have I never thought about that before? Anyway. So we're downstairs and we're in this bar and there's these women, confident, big women, wearing what they want, exposing themselves to whatever degree they feel comfortable to in a space that is theirs, where they know they're not going to be harassed or mocked just for the physicality. Because humans are more than the physicality. Little side note for you. If you can't detect the sarcasm there, you're in the wrong fucking place. So I just remember, there's one picture I have from that particular evening, and it's me in this low-cut black dress, and my mum standing next to me in my fake fur coat, which looked like she's surrounded by a mammoth because she's tiny and this coat is huge, because it fitted me, and I was like 20 stone at the time. And every time I look back at that photo, I'm like, what a time to be alive. You didn't want to discuss all the trauma that you'd put me through over the past 10 years, but you were happy to come on a night out with me and just let loose. Have a great time. Support your daughter. Wild. That is a wild thing to go through and to think about and to have to think about. Like, all the stuff that was brushed under the carpet for the sake of that short-term dopamine is wild. Crazy to me. But this night didn't just end with me and my mum going home. No, which was actually back to my nana's, but we'll call it home. We ended up, after this event had shut down at about 2 a.m, wherever it was, we were in a pretty nice hotel. So me and my mum go upstairs and we're sat in the bar because we weren't ready for this to be over. We're having a great time. We're just laughing it away and dancing and just being stupid. I definitely get that from her. She likes to have a good time. And I understand it, and so do I. But while we were sat in the bar, we were having a conversation with these two, I'd say, relatively elderly gentlemen. For my mum, not so much, but for me, at 19, 20 years old, 21, whatever it was within that frame, this is weird. What I'm about to say is fucking weird. But stay with me on this one. So we're having this conversation and it all feels a bit Pretty Woman. Not gonna lie. My mum looks at me after this gentleman says, would you like to come and see my suite? And as I say, I'm just about 20 years old, whatever it was at the time. And this guy's 50. My mum's closer to your age than I am, bro. This is weird. But at the time, because I was highly intoxicated and stupidly naive, I was like, yeah. Yeah, of course I do. Show me the money. Duh, because that's what life's about. Show it to me. And my mum just kind of laughed it off. She didn't take on that parental role at that point and go, come on, we'll leave him. She went, no, off you go. Enjoy yourself, have a great time. You weren't trying to be my mother, you were trying to be my friend. And that isn't what I needed from you back then. It's not what I needed from you then. It ain't what I needed from you now. It's never going to be what I needed. But the line was blurred. And I didn't know that back then. Because I'm just looking at her like, in this dynamic, you're the adult. Look after me, please. But that wasn't there. The mentality wasn't there. She wasn't my mum. She was trying to be my friend. And it didn't work in anyone's favour. Let's put it that way. But thinking about that scenario is so bizarre to me. Because if I were in the same situation now, you better believe drinks are getting thrown, you don't proposition my daughter. Hi, that's no. The audacity and the disrespect while someone is sat there in a mother-daughter combo to even say that in front of her, but for her to then let it happen. It was wild. It was fucking wild. That shouldn't have happened. Really. And there is some accountability there. I'm of legal age. I know what I'm doing. But again, there's this build-up of mental illness that's sat in the background, and I'm making decisions based off that, and that alone. I haven't seen another side at this point. So I'm in survival mode. And I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm just trying to live my best life according to what social media and the world is feeding me. I'm not turning that down. And that's on me. This isn't a story. None of my stories, in fact, are a story to put blame on anyone else. And I think that within mental health is a huge problem. We don't like to take accountability because it's hard. It is really fucking hard. But at the same time, maybe I should have been wiser. I probably could have made the right decisions if I had the upbringing to allow me to have that level of critical thinking. And I didn't. So I can say, yeah, I played my part in it, but it wasn't mine to hold fully. And that's okay. It's okay to do that. To make peace with that situation, cool. The blame is scattered amongst several parties. It's just fucked up that I had to experience it. But it's cool, we move. We learn these lessons for reasons. It's taken me a decade, longer than a decade and a half, to get to the point where I've got this clarity. It wasn't overnight. You're not going to get that overnight. You can only do that when you've removed yourself so far away from a situation that you can look back at it. And sometimes you don't even recognise the person in that scenario. It's like that was version 1 and this is version 2. And version 1 was a bit of a dick, to be honest. She was like a kicked puppy. If you go for a kicked puppy and they ain't quite sure, they're going to bite because they don't know. They don't know kindness. So they're always expecting the attack. And that's a mindset that took me a long time to get over. But anyway, back to the story because, I digress. So I got home. Well, I got back to my nana's. Got a taxi back to my nana's. He paid for it, obviously. Ugh. Icky. I got back to my nana's. And it must have been about 8-9 o'clock in the morning. And they're all sat around the table in the kitchen, having the breakfast, drinking the brews. And my mum started laughing, and the look my nana gave me was a look of sheer disgust. And that was a weird one to observe. But she said it was okay. That's why I did it. And even though it was I chose to go and do it as well, It's like, oh, look at the hierarchy here. There's something seriously wrong with this picture. But again, we don't see it while we're in it. You can't see it while you're in it. You're too close. That's the problem. You're too close. You're too in it. But after that night out and being aware that this now existed, I was like, yeah, I want to go to all of these. These are really fun. Like, I get to dress how I want. I get to just be without the immediate threat of attack. Because, actually, saying that isn't actually true, Emma. Because on normal nights out, people would still grab me. People would still touch me inappropriately. And that happened in this space too. So it wasn't that I was moving away from immediate threat at all. I was just exchanging the threat for something that was wrapped up in a more comfortable blanket. Interesting. But now they existed, and I'd started to make friends online. Making friends online. We've all done it at one point or another. It's like a rite of passage nowadays. I became friendly with a woman who was older than me by a decade or so. And she was pretty much doing the same thing as me. It wasn't that sex work or putting wish lists out there or doing anything like that was the career for us. It was just kind of like a little side hustle. We were still going to work. We had normal jobs. We were living normal lives. This was just on the side. This was a nice little distraction for whatever the fuck we were living in real life. And that wasn't pretty. So of course, we tried to make it better. And I met this woman, and this friendship, it lasted a long time. It lasted a very long time. We basically turned into a safety net for each other. We were both bigger women. We were both wanting to be in spaces that accommodated to us. We had the financial means to do so. We were going down to London a lot together. There was years and years of this scene that we were involved in. And after going to a couple of events with her, we'll loop back to her because she comes into this story on multiple occasions on different evenings and different situations that I'll tell you about. But she was the first friend, and she became part of a wider friend group of another couple of girls I met online. Now these girls were at the height of the game. When I say they were at the height of the game, they had full websites. This was a business. And they were fucking good at it. They did what they needed to do. They knew how to manipulate men very easily. And it was all a performance. It was all a show. But I couldn't separate that back then. I was just trying to do me and be me with all that is. And they'd already understood that you've got to turn it on and off. But I can't separate the two. And I didn't know that then. So one of the girls with this website and I got talking, got really friendly. And we decided we were going to work together. Because I was cute, she was cute, two cute girls, money is what it comes down to. And I drove for 4 hours to go down to her house. And what happened there was a bit of a crazy situation to me. And I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting it. Very naively, I didn't expect this. But we discussed it vaguely. So she had a regular who wanted to come and spend some time with us. And he showed up. Things escalated into a sexual situation very quickly, in which I was very uncomfortable, but I've been drinking vodka since about 11 o'clock in the morning. Again, there's photo evidence of this. It'll be on Talk of Shame at some point. There you go. Plugged it. But with that situation, it was just such a minefield of mess. Because I was there to work with her, but she was living with a boyfriend, and this apartment was quite small, and their dynamic wasn't great, and we were just trying to have fun. And then she's inviting these other men into this apartment. And then came another fanatic. Because she had this incredible fan base. Like, when I say they were dedicated and loyal, she was top of the pyramid for these people. And it gave me a bit of an inferior complex. And that's because I was so insecure, and I didn't even realise how fucking insecure I was at the time. But there was one situation we were drinking really heavily. Like I said, I've been drinking all day just to try and get through this. Because I'm here now, I'm 4 hours away from home, I've kind of run away to the excitement, and the excitement isn't all glitter and gold at this point. There's actually some fucking shit that goes on here. And this one guy, the way he made me feel, I will never, ever forget. Because he made me feel like such a bag of shit. It was unreal. There was me, her, and Mad Fanatic sat on the bed. We're all drinking, and we're talking. I'm talking to her, she's talking to me, but he's ignoring me and only talking to her. Sorry, am I fucking invisible to you? But because I'd been drinking, it was tenfold. This situation in my brain was escalated to a point where I was like, this fucking arsehole, who the fuck do you think you are? But because of the insecurity and everything else that sat within me at that point, just bitterness generally, I retreated. I locked myself in the fucking bathroom and I sobbed. And I couldn't communicate why I was sobbing, because you're not going to get it. You're on the fucking throne and he's treating me like I'm literally dog shit on his shoe. How are you going to understand this? And if you can't see this right now, there's a problem. But we both lacked self-awareness. That isn't on her. That's on him for being an absolute cunt. No other way to put it. He treated me in such a dire manner. Like, it was vile. It was vile. And the only thing that makes this situation better is he came into a space that I was in about 10 years later, and he was like, fucking hell, you look amazing. Yeah, you don't, you piece of shit. Ha! Sucker. But that is where I'm going to leave it for today's episode. That's all I've got for you. That's all you're having. Stay tuned. Episode 3 will be dropping soon. Look after yourself. I'll see you soon.